Dan, how you doing, bud?
Adam, how you doing?
Good, buddy. Trying to stay safe out here.
I know, man.
Seems like, you got a little recruiting pipeline going to your old state of New Jersey. You had Adama, RJ, now you got Samson. Can you just kind of talk about the talent coming out of Jersey and specifically what you like in Samson?
Yeah, recruiting Jersey, recruiting the metropolitan area is a huge part of our recruiting plan. The strong footprint that we want in terms of the geography of our approach. Guys that play high school in AAU and grassroots ball in Jersey, they have the makeup. They've got the toughness, they got the edge to come and play at a place like UConn and be able to handle, the pressure and expectations of playing at a place like UConn. So guys from the Northeast, they thrive in a place like this because basketball is king. And Samson, I remember me and Kamani going to see him and Adama literally like 3 or 4 days after I had spine surgery. I literally had the sutures in my neck and got over to Patrick School to see those two guys. And our first look at Samson, I think both me and Kamani just loved him right away and view him as a guy that could be a great player here and projects to be potentially an NBA level talent.
At that time, could you have imagined, getting both those guys? I mean, how optimistic were you that day that you could get both of them?
Well, not that optimistic that day, Zach, because there were a lot of schools in there.
Yeah.
and I wasn't at full strength. But we knew we wanted those two guys. And, Adama, obviously, they're going to play excellent alongside each other, just like they did at Patrick School. Because there's such different types of, forwards. And, but that's obviously, if you would have said to me, a year later or over a year later that we got both of them, that would make me like really happy.
Thanks, buddy. Congrats.
Thanks, man.
Robin?
Hi, Coach. What are some of the things that are on your checklist when you're looking for a recruit to fit into your program? Obviously there's talent, but what are some of the things that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, at this level, that there's like limited inventory in terms of players that have enough talent for us to recruit. And I've coached at different levels, and the pool, it kind of shrinks at each level. So, talent and obviously, athletic ability and skill. And, but for me, it's, I quickly, once you reach that first marker of being talented enough or athletic enough, for me, like I start looking for like the passion for the game, the competitiveness, just like kind of, do they understand sports? Like, do they have like court awareness? Like, are they situationally aware on the court? How do they interact with their teammates? Again, do they love the game? Because like we coach these guys pretty hard 11 months a year. So obviously you got to share the passion for basketball that I have, that my staff has, and that the types of players we recruit have.
Thanks.
Dave, Borges?
Hey, Dan.
maybe I should have waited a couple of questions to kind of change the topic here, but I just wanted to know how things are going in terms of the quarantine. How's the player doing? Have there been any other positive tests? I don't know if you can announce that. And what are they able to do now? I know no team activities, but are they working on individually in the gym, in the weight room? Can you just, update us on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously we're very, I'd say overall, there's like just a high level of concern, for the team. Obviously the 14th day, shutdown, is never a good time to go into quarantine for any person, but, when you're creeping closer to, games beginning in your opener, there's a level of anxiety that the coaches and players all share right now about our ability to be prepared for opening night. Not just to play well, but just to be in the type of physical condition for a player, to be safe to go out on game night after missing so much time, whether it's players that are returning from injury, that are, at a serious disadvantage, or players that are going to lose like 2 full weeks of practice, which, that if you've not, if you're not haven't been intimately involved in, in a basketball program, like missing 2 weeks of practice takes weeks to recover from. So, we're very concerned about just, the welfare of our guys upon returning, how hard to push them in practice. Do we need to adjust our non-conference schedule based on where we're at right now? And then I guess just the emotional and mental well-being of the guys that are in the quarantine, of guys that aren't able to be with the group again. We all suffered when we shut down initially in March and couldn't be around each other for several months. We're a pretty close-knit tribe. And so, we're trying to do the best we can to just stay connected, keep the spirits up, and keep the guys going on Zoom technology again. And then these guys can come in and use the building, but they can only do it in with a single basketball with their roommate, and each individual has to be at one end of the floor. No coach involvement with them. So
do you, and maybe it's impossible to say, but do you anticipate, I guess it would be a week from today, being able to resume team activities, or is?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the target date right now. Just like who we'll have available for that. That first practice is, is unclear. But we're having, obviously, myself and Dave Benedict and the coaching staff and with other coaches. The Big East has been. I know that Seton Hall's dealing with it. I know Villanova's been dealing with it. I know that Marquette has dealt with it, and Xavier. I know that a number of schools have gone into quarantines for extended periods of time, and it's very concerning. I don't want to put. We were put in a position to take care of these guys, our players. I think that's your number one responsibility, is to take great care of your players. And we've got to make decisions with scheduling based on what's in the best interest of our players and their welfare physically. So I think everything's on the table, for us right now, Dave.
Pat, Rob? Yeah, Coach, I was going to just ask that. Have you had talks about the schedule? How confident are you that the schedule will actually go forward at the timetable it is right now? And how many of your players, have they all tested negative now again, or where are you?
Yeah, I can't talk about, I guess, the number of tests or so I can't comment on that, but we'll continue to have discussions, and obviously try to project, the students here, they go home, the overall student population on campus is going to head home, sometime before, I think, or around Thanksgiving, which means that we'll potentially be going into more of a bubble type of situation where I think just our competing winter sports will be on campus with not a whole lot of other students. So, potentially our ecosystem is going to shrink and become maybe more conducive to, the virus not spreading, which then I think would provide us time to be able to practice and have a better chance at playing games.
Zone?
Yeah, so Dan, when you lose 2 weeks in November, does that change all of your preparation? Do you now have to speed things up? Do you have to slow them down? How does it really impact getting ready now to play games?
Yeah, I mean that's like the $1 million question. So, we're wrestling with that right now. We've got individuals like a Cook and Brendan. Brendan, who was, would right now be, in live stuff, probably going 5-on-5, and he'd be in great shape for being full strength for the opener. Now he's got to obviously wait. Plus, he can't really do the type of conditioning work or basketball work with coaches to stay where he needs to be. Obviously, a Cook, Cook had progressed to 1-on-1 all the way to 3-on-3. And he had potentially, might have been inching closer to 4-on-4, 5-on-5 work by this point. So that's just with those two guys. It's a major disruptor for the progress they were making. And then just the team overall. If you haven't practiced for 2 weeks and done anything that resembles the intensity of game-like conditions, and then you crush your team that first day back with a 2-hour and 20-minute practice. You have a high risk of getting somebody hurt or really debilitating your team. So, it's a tricky thing when you've got to take 2 weeks off and then you've got potentially 6 practices before and you have an opener, and then now you get into a series of game 2 days, game 1 day, game 1 day. So we're in a difficult spot. A lot of schools are right now, and we've just got to be able to adapt and make decisions with what we do with the non-conference schedule based on the best interest of our players and their welfare, and obviously marry our ability to have a non-conference season.
Tom?
Yeah, Dan, is there will you be able to kind of build back gradually between now and next week, or is the status quo now, that's what it's going to be until at least the 19th? Will there be any day-to-day change or lightening of restrictions?
Yeah. So they'll again, these guys they're allowed in. They're allowed in the facility, kind of like a kid, like when we were kids and we would just go to the outdoor courts with a ball and shoot around. I mean, obviously they have access to a shooting gun, so they can get shots in. but again, they can't do that with another player, so they're on their own. So there's no, you could do some ball handling, you could do some shooting. And then they're like they can go into the weight room, but the strength, due to contact tracing, like the strength coach has to be in his office and can't assist or be near them during a lift. The strength coach can do some conditioning with them, but he's got to do that from the balcony, and the players can't cross half court. So there's obviously just a lot of challenges to keep these guys anywhere near the level of fitness that you would need to play a basketball game for 40-minute basketball game.
Is it fair to say then that for UConn to play a game on November 25th at this point is very, very unlikely? Is that fair? Or are you still thinking it's a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still a possibility, but when you go into these 14-day stoppages, you obviously have a lot of time to think, and a lot of time to evaluate just the likelihood of being able to do things a certain way. I think that this is what this season's going to be. Obviously, you have to be able to adapt and make good decisions on the fly here. And we're just evaluating what's in the best interest of us. Obviously, what can we do leading into the most important part of our season, which is going to be, and the most likely part of our season, which is Big East play. That's what we want to try to put ourselves in position to be as close to full strength for the most likely part of our season and the most important part of our season, which is Big East play, which will start a couple of weeks after, the campus is a lot, it's going to be a lot tighter again. Bubble, it's going to be more of a bubble-like scenario for us around the time when Big East play starts.
Charlotte?
Hey, Dan, thanks for your time. I guess kind of to follow up on that, what would be for you as a coach like an ideal amount of time to recover from these 2 weeks off, given what they're able to do? And what will that first practice back as a team kind of look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, put it like this, coming off of a day off, that's usually a good thing. And, it's a little bit sloppy. The team has a hard time, so coming off a day off, it's just, the guys are a little sluggish to start. And obviously we've got as coaches crank up the energy. These guys are brutal coming off of 2 days off. As coaches, when guys go home for a 2-day, 2.5-day Christmas break, your first 2 practices are brutal. The guys, just the cardio, the hand-eye core, it's hard to get that back. It takes a day or two, or a practice or two. 2 weeks. I've never been in a situation before. As a high school coach, I think the longest break I've ever dealt with the team was maybe like 3 or 4 days. So uncharted territory, completely. And we have no idea. My biggest thing is it's not, are we going to be sharp for the opener? I mean, I think everyone knows is the quality of play this year in college basketball. It may suffer a bit, the games, in terms of the sloppiness. Obviously, it's not going to be the same quality, especially early on. But my issue with non-conference schedule is just the health and welfare of the players, not putting them in a bad situation where they only get a couple practices in, and then game night, and then the lights come on game night, and these guys turn up, and now they haven't had enough hard practices in to turn it up on game night when those conditions change. That's all.
Neil?
Dan, sorry to change the subject a little bit, but just ask you about Book real quick. When did you kind of know he had whatever you want to call it, the it factor, the swagger, the in addition to the game, kind of the mental game to be a star at this level and maybe other levels? Was there a moment, or were there things that you saw?
I loved him when I was, Kamani saw him a lot when he was at Minnesota. When I was at Rhode Island, I loved James. I saw him when he was, when he was pretty young. We recruited Dana Tate to Rhode Island when me and Cox did when I was at Rhode Island, and I just fell in love with James's, just his effortless athletic ability and just his talent and his skill level and how easy he makes the game look, with just all of his abilities. So yeah, and then seeing him, and then obviously I think, when we got here, it was very clear. I wasn't as familiar with Gaffney, but we knew right away, literally first recruiting meeting with, myself and Tom, and then as Kamani came on board, and then Kenya, like a Cook and James were immediately our two big recruiting priorities. And then obviously we saw Gaffney. I saw Gaffney for the first time, and then, he became obviously a guy we wanted.
Danny, Carlotta?
Hey, Coach. I know you talked a little bit about Samson earlier. I wanted to ask you about Rahsool and Jordan, like the first time you saw them play, and how you were able to get them here, and why you think they're going to be a big part of this program moving forward.
Yeah, we just obviously recruiting, during this, during the pandemic, during COVID, when you didn't, when the ability to evaluate players in April and the summer taken away, we were very lucky to put together this class that we're very, very familiar with. And we're fortunate enough to see prior to things shutting down. But like Rahsool is the type of like point guard with all types of game and skill and feel, and like Philly, Philly toughness, Philly grit, Philly confidence. Every time he steps on the floor, he believes he's the best player. And I think he, as a point guard, has the ability to elevate the abilities of the people around him because of his playmaking skills. And, but when you talk to him and you watch him, that moxie, that self-belief that you want in your quarterback, the head of the organization, the point guard. He reminds me of, I loved coaching Fats for a year, and he's got a lot of that same type of confidence that just permeates through your program. And Jordan, he's just, he's central casting for the type of prototypical athletic shooter with great length and all types of upside. He's just the perfect type of wing prospect that offensively is going to be just an incredibly dynamic wing, and a guy that just is a next level prospect. All three guys are. To put together a class with guys that have, just all the potential in the world. Plus, these guys are really good players right now. Just like three big impact players, three guys that want to be coached, three guys that want to go to a place like UConn and challenge themselves to measure up at an elite level. Guys that come from like major high school programs, major AAU programs. These are the type of guys that come into a place, and when the heat turns up, they don't blink.
Dave, Borges?
And I think, of the three new guys, each one had a different coach, assistant coach kind of leading their recruitment, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, one of those guys is gone now, but what does that say about sort of the ability of you and your staff to recruit? And is that sort of the kind of, versatility you like in your staff when it comes to the recruiting trail?
Yeah, we all work together, the staff. Just obviously, I've always been smart enough to hire like the very best people, and to have Kamani and Tom and Kenya, like three tremendously professional coaches, three guys with head coach type of ability and presence, and then obviously bringing Kevin in here to replace Kenya, who possesses those same qualities. Just blessed to have a tremendous staff that doesn't get territorial about just recruiting their own guys. We kind of team recruit because that's the way the program's going to function when the player gets here. We're all going to develop these guys. We're all going to coach these guys. We're all going to develop great relationships with these players. So we team recruit, and I'm just, obviously my staff does have the luxury of having the tremendous UConn brand that has returned to the Big East. We have one of the best brands in all of college basketball, the UConn brand, and one of the best fan bases in college basketball. I mean, our fans there's a lot of them. They're passionate, they're knowledgeable, and that's a huge advantage because like our fan base has a huge social media presence, and that's important when it's positive.
Gavin?
Could you put together some pretty good recruiting classes the last couple of years? Is it getting to the point where other players see the kind of talent you're putting together and they want to be part of the program? You think you're reaching that point?
Yeah, I think obviously that first class was really, and even forget about Brendan Adams. Who was in that first late signing period class. And Brendan's such an important member of the organization because, just his character, his work ethic, at a time where things were not very stable here, he brought in obviously we brought in a very good basketball player, but we brought in just somebody you could build a winning organization with, and then stability, and then obviously, that class with a Cook and Book and Gaffney and RJ was what will prove to be, I think, the class that really turned things around here. With the help of Christian and Zay and Tyler and Josh and all the guys that helped us get here. But, that first class there, that first full class was a big one. And then obviously, Dre and Adama, and just, and Richie, like the roster and our practices are a lot different. And we're in a very, you know, whenever we get started again, and the present group is very talented. We're excited to play, and you know, obviously our future's bright with 21 and beyond.
Pat, Rob?
Coach, obviously things are still moving around, but can you just clarify what you are planning for in terms of when the season's going to start, who you're going to be playing? Are you still committed to the Legends tournament? Are there going to be games before that? What is it as of right now, obviously knowing that things can change?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, we've got our opener, you know, on the 25th, and the game on the 27th, and obviously we're committed to other games, you know, right now. But this is obviously you know, it's a fluid, you know, it's a fluid situation. We you know, we have a responsibility to take the absolute best care of our players. We don't want them to be in a position where there is a serious increase in their potential likelihood of an injury, significant injury. We've been through watching a guy recover from an Achilles and an ACL right now, and obviously, you know, we want to put ourselves in the best absolute position to avoid, you know, an injury due to the fact that we tried to play a game too quickly from returning from a 2-week stoppage, you know, of practice, complete stoppage. So there's nothing written in stone. Myself and Dave Benedict and our staff and obviously outside counsel with other coaches around the country that are dealing with this same situation. You know, we're doing what any intelligent person does. You know, when you're faced with a challenging situation, you're getting as much information as you can, and you make an intelligent decision.
And in terms of the 25th and the 27th, those opponents haven't been finalized yet?
Phil?
Well, contracts haven't been signed yet, Pat. So we're just, we hope to have something beginning of next week to tell everybody.
That's why I keep Phil on here, fellas and ladies. Just Phil, thank you.
Yeah. Mike, Anthony?
Yeah, Dan, just to follow up on the recruiting approach and success, when you were recruiting early here, the program was coming off 3 losing seasons. I'm wondering, and the Big East wasn't part of the picture, what kind of a challenge was that? Did you have some initial doubt about how difficult recruiting might be initially? And how does your message and what you're selling now change, given that you've had some success recruiting and on the court?
Yeah, I would say this, you know, Mike, that first recruiting class, you know, you're kind of you're riding the wave of the hope of a new staff, you know, and so that first recruiting class, you're selling them on a dream or on the process of you know, or a climb back up to the top. You're showing them a lot of press conference sound bites, and you know, here's what I did at Rhode Island, Wagner, St. Benedict's. Here, look, I have a history of winning. See, we could do that here. Plus the tradition of UConn, the rich tradition of not just championships, but of where these players all want to get to, NBA success, incredible legacies with individual players. You know, and then because of where we're recruiting the Northeast, you know, from the New England preps to the DMV, you know, that Mid-Atlantic area, you know, you're not talking a whole lot about the conference. You know, you're sticking to the Hurley family, the trust factor with our family in basketball, which we owe a lot of that to my dad, and then obviously what Bob's doing at Arizona State, and then the UConn brand, the new hire, but really trying to avoid talking about the conference a lot because it doesn't really fit. We're a kid from Philly or a kid from Brooklyn or Jersey dreams of playing in college. So obviously that changed when the Big East return happened for us, which is really has changed the way that we present our vision to players that we're recruiting there. Obviously, it's a lot more attention on the conference. Obviously a lot of attention on having the best conference tournament in the country at MSG, and and again playing in potentially the best basketball conference in the country, where your family can see you play probably 15 out of the 20 regular season conference games.
And this class in particular, and you've touched on this as we've gone along through these last 8 trying months, but this is a way to recruit that no one's ever really been through before. How did that change approach, expectation, even gauging kind of, if your messages were gaining traction among the kids, feedback you're getting? It's a bizarre world to recruit out of, not just for you, obviously, but for everyone. And it seems like you were able to do pretty well in those, despite those hurdles.
Yeah. I just think, we put together, we put together a plan like right away. And I think just as a program, with the Zoom, with the WebEx, with, FaceTiming, with whatever way that we could best function. I think when the lockdown happened and everyone, kind of went their separate ways, I think as a staff, we did a good job of staying connected virtually. And then with the players, multiple days a week of Zooms with the whole team. We were probably doing 3-4 Zooms a week with the players to stay connected. And, that's how we function as an organization. We're really, deeply connected group. So, it just, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that just flowed right into the way that we handled recruitments with our players. So, we got on Zooms with our key recruits every 10 days and just developed a virtual bond with them, where the trust factor that you develop in person on unofficials or official visits, we were able to develop virtually and make the best of a difficult situation, and not play the role of a victim or woe is me, there's no way to do this. We thought of ways that we can make it work, and we did.